Live only on DAZN. November 15th, Eubank Jr versus Benn 2. The first was a classic. Now it's the rematch. The greatest rivalry British boxing has ever seen. Eubank Jr versus Benn 2. November 15th. Click the link in the description to buy now.
In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. 10x token puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. Register now for your share of the $250,000 prize pool. Multiple winners, bigger chances. 10xtoken.io. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Joe Pugh for IFLTV, courtesy of Haye and Mangan Group NYC. David Haye, first of all, thank you for taking some time on a very exciting week in boxing. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to this rematch. You know, the first fight lived up to the hype. But rarely do you get a fight with as much hype actually live up to it. And that first fight was epic. Everyone who was there in the crowd, everyone watched it and on pay-per-view at home got their money's worth. And I can't wait for the first bell Saturday.
Before we talk about that rematch, just want to speak to you about what you was doing 15 years ago today. It was the Audley Harrison fight.
Yes.
To the day.
It was, yeah, Audley Harrison, old buddy of mine. Yeah, it was that was my second heavyweight championship defence. And me and Arena went exactly as I hoped. And yeah, it was good memories. Audley's a good friend of mine. We're in contact regular, and yeah, he's doing some good stuff in the coaching world now, the boxing. He's got so much knowledge, Olympic gold medal. He's been there, British, European champion, world title challenger. But he's got a wealth of knowledge, and he's a great coach. So hopefully he'll be bringing some young fighters through, moulding them, and there's a lot of raw talent out there, and he's got his eye out for some young bucks to go out there and do some stuff.
Could you ever have imagined 15 years ago that a young Eddie Hearn back in Audley Harrison would have done the things he's done for boxing in this last 15 years? Yeah,
that was his first kind of real involvement in boxing, and I have to say I thought it was great. Normally you get a fighter and the manager or promoter or agent, they don't really make the right noises, but he was making all the right noises. He was hyping it up. He got everyone behind Audley like he was going to be able to dethrone me. And yeah, he did a great job. And I said that to him as well at the time. I was like, great work, brother, great work. And yeah, since then he's gone from strength to strength, and here he is, one of the biggest global boxing promoter stars out there. So it's nice to be part of it all.
And heavily involved in this week's rematch, Eubank Benn. First of all, who are you backing in the rematch?
I think I love both fighters. I really respect what they've both done. And, Conor Benn going into that first fight, it was unknown. At welterweight, you can judge him. But at middleweight, against someone who has fought at super middleweight at the world level and pushed super middleweight world champions to the limit, that I thought was just a gulf too far. But somehow, Conor seemed to raise his game. He seemed to punch like a middleweight. He had a punch variety of a welterweight, but he had the snap of a big guy, and it was a tough fight for both of them. This time round, I think Conor's going to be even better. First time round, he seemed too emotional. Very rarely does emotions help you in a fight. Being strategic, being clever, setting traps. There was no traps being set. It was all out assault, and that worked for Benn, and it worked for his dad many times. Normally, when they're hurt, is when they're most dangerous. But also, on the other hand, I definitely feel Chris Eubank Jr. wasn't on his best form either. I know preparations was nowhere near ideal. So I'm expecting two significantly better fighters this time round. Conor being more calm and calculated, and Chris being having a lot more in the tank in terms of punch output, variety. And I just think it's going to be an even more intense fight.
Do you think the introduction or reintroduction of Bomac could have an effect on this fight?
It won't hurt the fight. He seems to have a good relationship. Some of his best victories, against Liam Smith, it was as good as he's had recently. So I definitely think that's a good feel-good factor. Fighters like to feel confident, feel comfortable, and by all accounts, everything has been done meticulously well, and his weight's good. and he's raring to go. So I'm very, very excited, and I definitely think that's the right coach for him.
Is there a danger now they've shared them 12 rounds and kind of gained respect? Whether they like each other is probably still to be desired, but it won't be as good as a first fight as with the second.
I think it will be better. I think this is a type of fight that, when both fighters get better, when both fighters learn from the first, I think it's going to make for more of an exciting fight and a higher chance for a knockout in this second fight. Do
you think the kind of calming down, relaxing of Conor Benn?
I'm not saying be calm. I'm not saying he needs to be calm and relaxed. No, that's not.
We've seen it this week, around the build-up.
It's being relaxed prior to fight, but once that first bell rings, his style isn't being relaxed. His style is, really pushing the pace, using his physicality and trying to drag people into a slugfest. That's what he needs. That's what he wants. And I don't really take much from someone's persona in the lead up. Someone could be screaming and shouting. It might be for the cameras, but what I do know is what I saw in that first fight, I was very, very impressed. I had Chris winning by a couple of rounds, but it was a close fight. It was and both fighters gave everything. This time round, I think they're both going to be strategically different, but they're probably both going to be fitter. If you look at the fact that Chris Eubank Jr. struggled to make the weight, he missed the weight. He didn't make the weight. And Conor Benn, his head went. He said after the fight, you could see during the fight, he wasn't really thinking about it. He was just being instinctive. And it worked out great, but not great enough. So I just think both fighters are going to be new and improved, and we're going to have more. It's going to be more intense.
What did you think of this ambulance video that Chris Eubank Jr. posted within the last week? You've fought in stadiums before, both in this country and abroad, David. Is it an issue getting out with kind of everything, the blockage, the roads?
I boxed at the O2 Arena in my last professional boxing match. I think the penultimate one, the first fight with Bellew, I left that fight in an ambulance. Obviously, my Achilles tendon snapped. And as far as I was aware, it was the back of the O2. There was 2 ambulances waiting. I got into the first ambulance and went straight away. The O2 Arena has regular boxing matches, so they're fully updated on the fact that the British Boxing Board of Control required 2 ambulances. I was filling one of them, and I went out no issues. If there was an issue, I'd assume it would be down to the venue. The venue. I've heard. I don't know the intricacies of it all and what exactly happened and what times, but I assume it's whoever was in charge of opening the gate. There'll be a dude in there who must have seen an ambulance wanting to leave, and it might be just a job's worth. Not saying open the gate. Who wouldn't open a gate to an ambulance when they've got questions need to be answered? I'd like to know what the answer is, but being stuck 20 minutes. Particularly, I remember I saw an interview with Chris Senior, I think yesterday, where he said he was in the ambulance and it was touch and go for Chris Eubank Jr. I don't know what that means. Touch and go. Don't sound like it's not a good thing. So if your son is there touch and go and there's a gate that's not being opened, that would infuriate you.
Just to confirm, though, you don't think it's anything to do with the promoter you've promoted? It's kind of out their jurisdiction.
Yeah, I don't think any sane person would purposely try to stop someone getting medical care. I personally don't believe that. But hopefully, there's a full investigation into exactly what happened. My opinion's irrelevant, but there's going to be a procedure that was or was not followed by whoever told whoever to do what, and we'll find out hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But that's in the past. We're here now for Saturday night. You could dig up old wounds, but it's all about who wins Saturday night.
Last time we spoke to you, you was very confident of seeing a Dillian Whyte, Derek Chisora third fight. We spoke to Derek yesterday. He said it was done, but the contract was shit, in his own words. Do you still think we'll see that fight? I know you're probably close to Derek.
At some stage, hopefully. It's the fight I think everybody will. If he's going to have a 50th fight, what better fight is there than Dillian? So they've got to get the paperwork sorted out and sort it out. As far as I'm aware, both fighters want the fight. The fans would want to see it. So usually those fights are the easiest ones to make.
Who goes in that as favourite?
I think on current form, Chisora will go into that fight as a favourite, although he did get beat twice by Dillian, got stopped in the last one and lost on points in the first. Both fights are very close the whole way, But yeah, so it's a great fight.
How do you look back on your time with Derek, guiding him?
It's entertaining. It's entertaining. You know, when he's on, when he's switched on, when he's motivated and he's fired up. Yeah, he's a problem for anyone. Ask Alexander Usyk. You know, I'm sure he'll tell you his hardest fight was against Derek. And on paper, you wouldn't, if you look for his record, you wouldn't automatically think Derek would be that guy. But he's a lot awkwarder than he looks.
Right, breaking news within the last 24 hours. Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul.
Yes.
It's close, done. We don't really know too much, but it looks like it's happening in December. Yeah, just get your reaction to that, Dave.
It's a crazy fight. But so was Ngannou and Tyson Fury when it was announced. And we know how that one went. Jake Paul, 13 fights. How many legitimate current boxers in that group? Not that many. Fighting as someone who's Olympic gold medalist, two-time heavyweight champion, and who hasn't been in retirement, who is an active boxer. I think it's nuts. But if Jake Paul believes he's got what it takes to win that fight, then God bless him. Maybe he has something we haven't seen yet. And it's gonna be painful for Paul if AJ's allowed in the boxing ring with boxing gloves and AJ's allowed to do what he wants. It's going to be horrible for Jake Paul. He's not going to enjoy it.
Who's got more credentials, Francis Ngannou or Jake Paul? Because Jake has had those fights.
No. Credit to Jake Paul. He's got more boxing credentials for sure. I think Jake Paul would, with his experience in boxing, would have a good chance of beating Ngannou. Although Ngannou is significantly bigger and heavier and stronger, and any type of clinch will squash you. I think boxing ability, Jake Paul's boxing abilities, he's had fights, he's had sparring, he spars good guys, he looks after himself. But I think he should be fighting someone like Ngannou, where the boxing skill set is in his favour, but fighting someone who's not only bigger and stronger, but his skill set significantly better, Olympic gold medalist, it seems it's too much of a gulf.
What happens if Anthony does get dragged into a fight with Jake Paul? It isn't as smooth sailing as everybody thinks. Is that AJ done, in your opinion?
Yeah. If he has any type of uncomfortableness whatsoever in this fight, maybe if he breaks his hand knocking Paul out, that's the only injury he should be getting is in his hand, because he's punching his head so hard. Outside of that, he has to. If the fight goes ahead and Jake Paul wins one round, he should forget about it. They should just go call it a day.
If you was in AJ's position right now, on a comeback trail, he's had a year out, would you take the Jake Paul fight, which will probably be for a significant amount of money, or maybe a top 15 to top 20 guy to get you back into those positions you want to be in?
I'd fight Jake Paul. Why would you not fight? You're a prize fighter. You're in this he's not going to get a world title fight anytime soon, so it's to keep busy. You can go for a training camp, knock someone out, fight 3 weeks later if he wants. So definitely get that fight. If that fight's on the table, take it. Why not?
Would you fight Jake Paul?
No, I'm going to fight Jake Paul. I'm with anybody.
You are absolutely done. There's nothing, nobody you come out for.
Ask me in 5 years' time when I'm 50. I'm going to make a comeback when I'm 50. Let everyone else sort of slow down a bit.
You and Del Boy, what, like 20 years later?
Yeah, the third fight. Yeah, there is.
When you see fighters like back in the gym, like Carl Froch, he's been retired 11 years. We've seen so many fights. Mike Tyson, obviously. Does it make you think, I could do it? Does it make you think, why? What's your thought process there?
I love it. I love seeing fighters get back in there. Although it's pretty sad when watching Mike Tyson really not enjoy himself in there against Jake Paul. That was pretty sad to see. But he left it a bit late. Was at 58 at the time. But Carl Froch talking about getting back in there. Carl always looks after himself. So I'd love to, if someone gives him enough money and he's motivated and he's interested and he's got the time to do it, then yeah, great. Why not?
Last person I will speak to you about is Moses Itauma. Just been announced to fight Jermaine Franklin. Is that the right fight for Moses?
Yeah, it's a great fight. It's a great fight. Franklin's shown world-class skills, durable. If anyone's going to be able to ask him questions, just go back and watch Dillian White, how he got on. You know, it was a tough fight. It wasn't he won the fight on points clearly, but it wasn't easy. So I definitely feel that's a good opponent at this stage. If you can't get the big names, fight someone who's potentially going to give you some rounds. So I think, yeah, great fight. And it'd be interesting to see how he sort of decrypts Franklin, because he isn't traditional. He's got an awkward style, and I think he's better than he looks.
If Usyk does stay fighting to 41, do you think we will see Moses in with him at some point?
If Usyk wants to continue to face the best in the division, he's going to have to, because Moses is knocking on the door. He really is. And obviously, if he fights Franklin and takes him out in good fashion, he's closer to the main spot. And there's no rush with Itauma. I'm happy for him to take his time. Now, everybody just wants the biggest fights right now, but look, from his point of view, he's 20. There are loads of lessons he's going to need to learn. It's better to learn them before it's the big one, because that lesson that you need to learn, you might end up losing. So learn as many lessons about different awkward, complicated guys. He's going to need, hopefully, it sounds crazy, hopefully one of these guys will tag him at some stage and hurt him. So he's going to have to realise, okay, now I'm tagged. My head's buzzing. I'm going to have to get through this little challenge. He hasn't had that yet. And only no one yet has been able to do it, but someone like Frankie may be able to get past his defences and test his chin and see how he reacts to it, see how he comes back. You know, but so far he's passed all the tests, and every time we try to chuck a higher test in there, he makes it look easier the better the opposition he fights.
Is Usyk Fabio the fight next then for you?
I'd love to see that fight. Fabio deserves his shot. You know, Parker deserved his shot, and if he's just beating Parker there, he now should get the credibility that Parker had. You know, beating those Zhang, Wilder. You know, these are big, you know, quality names that he's got on his resume. Now he's got that mantle. So I'm looking forward to that if it happens. But yeah, the heavyweight scene's looking good.
Very last thing, is there a part of you that wishes you was about now in this heavyweight scene with Usyk, with same kind of size, moving up from cruiserweight? You would have had so many great fights now, especially even domestically.
Yeah, there have been loads of amazing fights. You know, whenever I watch someone, I always think, oh, how would I get on with him? Looking at Moses Itauma and even Wardley, that sort of awkward, the big, naturally big, fast hands. They would have been all, and obviously you've got Usyk, but you know, I would have loved to have fought in this era, but you know, you can't fight forever. But it's nice to watch. It's nice to be part of it and watch it from afar, and know I'm not going to have to fight any of these guys. I can just watch them and enjoy them. Because it's different watching as a competitor to these guys, because you're watching what they're doing wrong instead of just sitting back and then just enjoying what they do and enjoying the magic that boxing brings.
Excellent, David. Thank you very much for being to IFLTV. Thank you to Haye, and we'll catch up soon. Definitely. Thank you.
Live only on DAZN, November 15th, Eubank Jr versus Benn 2. The first was a classic, now it's the rematch. The greatest rivalry British boxing has ever seen. Eubank Jr versus Benn 2, November 15th. Click the link in the description to buy now.
In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. 10x token puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. Register now for your share of the $250,000 prize pool. Multiple winners, bigger chances. 10xtoken.io. Terms and conditions apply.